Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Misko with Misko Health Law, and welcome to this week's Growth Without Risk presentation sponsored by Cairo Secure. This week, we're going to talk about something, look back through the archives we haven't talked about in a while, and I thought it was worthy of bringing back up because I see this issue come up in some of the post-payment work I've been doing recently. And this is, a medical necessity issue that plagues chiropractors because you tend to have patients who don't come, they're treated, they go away, and you never see them again. They tend to come back with either new problems or, more specifically, recurrences of old problems. And once a doc, develops a familiarity with a patient, and there's recurrent symptoms of a similar nature, the tendency is when the patient comes back to just pick up where you left off as if there wasn't a 2 month break in care or whatever the break in care was, and you forget your obligations to reinitiate a new course of care. And what that leads to is determinations that the treatment for the patient is not medically necessary. It's maintenance care, it's palliative care, and sometimes the visit schedule can help support that conclusion. So when there's an interruption in care for whatever reason, and I've seen in the records where docs have been very forthright, the patient's going on vacation for a couple of weeks, and so that's going to interfere with the treatment schedule, um, or they're going south for the winter. It's that time of year. So if you're in the north, you have your snowbird patients heading south. If you're in the south, you have your snowbird patients showing up out of the blue, and you haven't seen them for 5 or 6 months, and they're potentially going to resume chiropractic care, and you need to be cautious that in terms of just doing a same as last treatment, magic button soap note, and pretending like there wasn't a break in care. So when these people come back, there's a couple things that you need to do. If you look at the documentation guidelines for an evaluation management services, you'll note that a history is supposed to track the patient's status since the last encounter. Now, the last encounter might have been 2 days ago, or it might have been 6 months ago. And when that occurs, especially when there's a substantive break in care for whatever reason, you need to start off and start the visit note, not today the patient enters complaining of, since the last encounter, here's what happened. Okay. Now let's take the patient that, went on vacation. A couple superficial problems in the medical necessity argument. They go on vacation, they come back, and nothing happened. That's bad for your medical necessity argument because the patient was able to survive without care for a period of weeks, maybe months, and nothing happened. And they just happened to be in the neighborhood and stop by to use the bathroom. And hey, come on back here and let's get you adjusted. And that's the way it looks like to the carrier. When you don't properly start your note based upon what happened since the last encounter. So since the last encounter, the patient did well, blah 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 blah. However, as a result of these activities or this mechanism, the patient began to notice blah blah blah, and it leads you up to their presentation today. You got to close that gap. And you have to demonstrate that something happened that led to a worsening, thereby prompting the return. If you're going to have any prayer of establishing this restart of the care as being medically necessary. So make sure you do that interval history, do a comparative outcome assessment. Okay, so if you're using outcome assessment, which I recommend, and you did one upon their departure, hopefully, before you do a new one, you do comparative analysis to demonstrate that in fact their functional status has changed negatively, thereby warranting a return to care. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can bring the patient back, treat them on a cash basis. It's fine. But we're talking about, submitting a claim to insurance for care that you are going to argue is medically necessary under their standards. And in order to do that, you have to substantiate the why they're coming back. And it's got to be, hey, I'm back from vacation. Hey, I'm back for the winter because it started snowing up north. That is not a reason from an insurance carrier's perspective for you to be providing treatment to a patient. Okay. On the exam, so on the history, track their historical projection or progression since the last encounter. Use outcome assessment. Don't forget the mechanism. And the patient says, "Well, I don't know what happened." Come up with something. I mean, something happened. They did something. It may have had a latent effect, but you know the um, absence of a mechanism really makes it difficult for the payer to conclude that there was a significant health problem that required medically necessary treatment. Then on the exam, again, I know you want to just hit that magic button and get through the note. Very big mistake, because you're starting a new course of care, which means you need to reestablish the diagnosis. Probably make a statement. Is this a chronic condition that is acutely worsened? Especially in the E&M medical decision making analysis, you need to classify what conditions a patient has, what their status is, relation to the last encounter and the mechanism. I mean, glue all that argument together as a basis for why you're going to treat this patient, especially in terms of what you expect to accomplish with the care. So I'm not as concerned about you detailing all the examination methods you perform, because you do have history with this patient. But if there is a recurrence of the prior problem, depends on whether you want to build the E&M or not. These days, under the 2021 guidance, the exam detail isn't that important, but you can say examination revealed a recurrence of these problems, then establish their status as an acute flare-up, complicated, uncomplicated, mild, moderate, severe, whatever, for purposes of your medical decision-making scoring for the E&M. But then also, based upon this recurrence of the problem, you have to establish a course of care. I'm going to see the patient 3 times a week for 2 to 4 weeks. Establish your treatment order. What treatment are you going to provide? And with some degree of detail, because when the detail is lacking, in terms of how you're going to do stim, what kind of traction, which exercises, that sort of stuff, payers almost unilaterally, whether they have requirements for that detail or not, tend to deny in post-payment review. So you can solve those problems by drafting a treatment order, almost as if you were going to describe for somebody else how to do the care. Frequency and revised duration, and then what objective goals. I mean, what conditions are you trying to either significantly improve or resolve? And a technique that I like is, if you rate the severity of the condition on presentation, then you can identify what severity scale you want to get that condition to substantiate a discharge from care. And then indicate what your discharge date is, and then you have a plan to work from for that course of treatment. Following that, of course, I don't care so much about the detail of the history in the exam. What I care about is what's going on with the problems that you're trying to resolve with treatment, and what impact the care is actually having relative to those problems. And there's uh, a way to document that stuff that is somewhat detailed, and it makes doing medically necessary care somewhat less cost effective than you might think because of the documentation burden. But the key is to have any chance of bringing this patient back. A couple things: if it's a one and done or two and done, probably not worth the documentation effort. And even if it was, you run the risk of the carrier calling it episodic or palliative care within the rubric of maintenance care, and therefore denying coverage. Even if you're going to launch back into a deliberate course of care, um, don't forget, you got to address the issue of why the patient needed to come back. If they went on vacation and they came back and they were fine without care, they don't need to come back. I mean, except maybe for, non-covered care. So the key is in that interval history, document that progression as to, and I realize it's a pain in the neck and you don't like it, but if you want to win these medical necessity arguments, you got to do it, because we don't have a prayer of convincing the payer that the patient needed to come back without explaining the why of that need. And the way that we do that is start your history note or your subjective note as of the last visit and document their progression. Don't forget the mechanism, and then here they are. And if you can buttress that with a outcome assessment form, that demonstrates, at least from that scoring basis, a diminished functional status as a result of this mechanism and progression, then you've at least set the case up, uh, for the payer, understanding, yes, this is, an exacerbation of a chronic problem, or maybe it's even a new problem, in which case it's a little bit more complicated on the exam side. You can't just regurgitate the old problems and state their status. You're going to have to, show your exam work to substantiate the new conditions, as well. So hopefully that is you know, let's see, we did that in 10 minutes. Normally that'd be a 90-minute documentation lecture, but we don't have that kind of time, unfortunately. But just trying to get you sensitized to the fact that when you have a break in care, the note for the visit coming back has to be a little bit more robust in explaining what happened in between and why they needed to come back and why you get to restart a new course of care. If you do that, you got a much better chance of even if there's some, they don't like your goals or whatever it is, at least you've established the need for the care, such that the payer doesn't feel like they've been billed for care that's just routine palliative, preventive, supportive, or maintenance care. So hopefully that is helpful to you. Next week, don't forget to tune in to Dr. Sherry McAllister. That's all we have time for today. And until next time, have a great day.